Hi, everyone. This is Raquel.
Hi, and this is Jennifer.
Welcome to Madness Cafe.
This is a feminist podcast where we talk about women's issues, politics, and health and wellness.
And where those issues intersect. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Madness Cafe. Today, Jennifer and I are joined by Orazie Cook. And let me give you the background on Orazie. This is such a great story. Orazie is a dedicated advocate for domestic violence survivors and their beloved pets. With a passion for creating safe and loving environments for both humans and animals, she established Praline's Backyard Foundation with the goal of breaking barriers faced by survivors with pets. Driven by her own experiences and fueled by compassion, Orazie leads the charge in raising awareness about the challenges survivors encounter when seeking safe housing for their pets. Through her dynamic leadership, Praline's Backyard Foundation has become a beacon of hope for countless families and their beloved pets. Join Orazie on her journey to empower survivors, educate communities, and create a world where no pet is left behind. Together, we can make a difference one paw at a time. Oh, I can't wait to hear more about this. Orazie Cook, thank you so much for being with us. We are very, very excited to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you.
Tell us a little bit about your background, please, and how did all this come about? It's super exciting.
Okay. Well, I would say my mom is an advocate when we were younger to volunteer, whether or not it was like volunteering, help cook meals at a homeless shelter, so whatever. So when I went to undergrad, I volunteered at a helpline. That was probably my first, besides having a lived experience with domestic violence, I was my first time seeing other people besides my own household experience domestic violence. And so I worked at a helpline, and that was my first, I volunteered there when I was in school, and it was also part of my practicum of undergrad in psychology. I went on from undergrad, I went to different master's programs, and I started volunteering at my local domestic violence shelter when I was in grad school, probably for my master's. And I just worked there, and I would see stories of, this was a women's shelter at the time, and survivors would go back to be with their pet, not with their abuser, but the abuser obviously was there. So, but they went back to be with their pet because they were concerned about their pet. It happened on a regular basis, and I didn't have the means, resources, or the forethought to say that we need to fix this problem. This is just me, like in my mid-20s, and just wondering, like, why is it happening? Then up into my 30s, and I start volunteering. In my 30s, I start volunteering at Humane Society because I just love dogs, and I've always been around animals. But then I would still see the same story happening in the sense of survivors would come and relinquish ownership of their pet because they were going into a housing situation that did not allow for pets, which is the responsible thing to do as a pet parent, right? If you're unable to care for your pet, let me give it to someone who can. But still, it's not what the survivor wanted to do, right? Given the opportunity, they would keep their pet. I still volunteer in Humane Society up until COVID, but then in the midst of COVID, domestic violence went up, as you all may know, and it was just like, I'm seeing this again. So then I'm having this experience. I still have people in the space because I volunteered there for years. So I have friends. And I was just like, oh no. Now this also in COVID, we all think about our life choice. We're at home doing nothing and just contemplating life. It's like, I want to do something different. And I have done something, I hesitate to say to do something different, but in the sense of I have a 20-year career in public health. I have a doctorate in public health, and I've done a great deal in public health. So that's definitely a contribution I have made. However, I said I want to do something more impactful to help people directly, because public health, you can be removed from the actual person that you're helping, at least in my case. And so I was like, I want to do something. I want to make a difference with, if I can get one person to leave an abuser with their pet, then I have made a world of difference to that one person and the family and the generation beyond that one person, right? Mm-hmm. So that's where it started. And then initially, because I also have a dog walking business, and so I said, let me just have it a part of that and just help house survivors' pets. And then I got on social media, and I just shared what I was doing, just as a part, just sharing. Because initially I wanted to build my own facility to house pets of domestic violence survivors here in Georgia, because this is my experience, this is my home. I encountered a number of obstacles because I had no idea what went into building a building and just all the legislation around that. But then I've also had the belief that I believe in partnership, because as I said, I've worked in public health for years, and I've seen, like, working in Tanzania or Ethiopia, we'll bring people from the US to build a building in Ethiopia. And I'm sure there are people in this country that can build this building. Why do we have to fly people in? So with that mindset, I thought, I don't have to have a physical building. why don't I work in partnership with pet boarding facilities that already have buildings and they're already making
Smart.
a business out of it? And we recognize every day a survivor makes a difficult decision to stay with an abuser because they lack housing. And at the same time, every day there's a pet boarding facility that has open space to house a survivor's pet. How can we create an opportunity and a need and match them together? So that was the base how I just transitioned. I didn't have my own building, but I said I can work in partnership with other pet boarding facilities. And so that's how it all started. And then from that, I said also, I don't want a pet to stay in a pet boarding facility. That's not a home. So I wanted to partnership with pet fosters across the country, and that's what I've done. I'm thankful to an organization called Duper.com. They are a repository of pet fosters across the country. I'm able to link into that network to get fosters. Like I have my own people that connect with me to foster with me, but because I'm a part of this bigger network, I'm able to help a survivor and their pet at a broader scale because I'm connected with this broader pet foster network. So that's kind of how it kind of evolved to Praline's Backyard Foundation for the purpose of housing pets of domestic violence survivors. I've helped more than one person, but because I've helped numerous people, it's like we've made a difference. Every one of us who have contributed by liking, sharing, donating, buying a t-shirt, like I mentioned, then we have help a survivor leave an abusive situation and change the trajectory of their life and the life of their pet as well.
Wow.
How did you come up with the name Praline's Backyard?
Because I have this beautiful chocolate cocker spaniel called Praline Pecan. And I thought she has a pretty impressive backyard that I get to look over every day when I'm sitting in my office. And it's like, I want a survivor's pet and I want my clients' pets to have the same safety and assurance that Praline gets to have every day. And so her backyard is like peaceful for her, except when deer come in, then it's a problem. But it's a peaceful place. But I definitely want other people's pets to have that same kind of level of security and comfort. And it's like a survivor knows that their pet is coming into a safe space.
That's so beautiful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. The thought of other pets being as peaceful and loved as Praline is it's a very lovely thing.
Yeah.
I like that. I really love the fact that you are, granted, it would be just as important and impactful if you were just helping survivors in Georgia, but you mentioned that you are tapped into a countrywide network of organizations that are helping survivors with their pets. Can you give us an idea? So if somebody is listening to this who, God forbid, is in a situation where they need help, or if somebody listening knows somebody who needs help but knows that they aren't leaving because of, they don't want to leave their pet, how do they get in touch? Like what do they do?
Well, traditionally, I encourage everybody to go to our website, pralinesbackyardfoundation.org. On that page is a link at the top, and the heading says for survivors. I click on that link and it says request housing for your pet. They fill out all the information a little bit about themselves, but mostly about their pet in the sense of like, if they have a cat, is your cat good with dogs? Are they good with children? What kind of environment they are? Because I want to put that cat or that pet in the most adequate home environment, right? So if they need an immediate housing, because what I tell people all the time, what a survivor lacks a lot of time, they have the courage to leave. What they're unsure about is the resources once they do. And so I will get calls or emails or just people responding through the website because they want to know what's available. And so that's part of the resource. And when you're ready to leave your situation today, we will put your pet into a pet boarding facility because we recognize, as I mentioned earlier, pet boarding facilities they're not overcrowded, right? They're not overcrowded. Like our humane societies are overcrowded. However, pet boarding facilities are not overcrowded. So we can put your pet in a pet boarding facility today. We'll pay for housing for 7 days. Sometimes it's longer, but because I'm part of this bigger network, like I mentioned, I'm able to find a foster pretty quickly. But in some states, like California, is really, really hard. It just doesn't happen as fast. However, we're able to find a foster for that survivor's pet. So if there's a survivor listening today, definitely go to our website. Our friend that's listening on a survivor's behalf, go to our website, learn about our resources. We'll pay for immediate housing for 7 days at a pet boarding facility. Of the survivor's choice, I want to give survivors the opportunity to decide where they want their pet to go. And after that, we will find their pet a foster based upon that pet's needs, because we recognize I had a situation where I had a survivor's pet that was diabetic, and not everybody that has a pet is accustomed to that level of care. And so it's trying to find out a foster that can provide that level of care. nothing wrong with that, because I may not be comfortable with needles, but you might be. And so I want to make sure you're able to have that kind of support for your pet and you want to be comforted knowing that your pet is taken care of with someone who knows the skill set to provide that service as well. And so we're just making sure that I always help survivors, because what I have had happen in the beginning of this road I'm on is that survivors would want to tell me everything about their pet. Sometimes we all have pets that do things that we know is not good. And so, but it's like, but they may not get along. Like my Praline, she's good, but she may take a minute to get warmed up to you, but not everybody tells the whole story. And like, I have a lot of, sometimes, because pit bulls are a popular breed, as we all know, unfortunately, but sometimes they're often a breed that's returned. And sometimes survivors have pit bulls, and it's like, they're hesitant to say that, but it's like, but people have different situations. Just tell me, it's okay. But the more you tell me, the more I'm able to help you. That's why I always help people. Just tell me everything. There's no judgment here. I'm just trying to get the best situation for your pet, and for you to feel secure about it when you're gone, separated from your pet for whatever amount of time is allowed.
So once somebody is in touch with you, and they've gotten a safe spot for their pet, they're in a transitional spot for themselves and are on the journey to get new housing for them. Say they are in a good situation, they're safe, and then it's time for them to bring their pet back with them. What is the process for that? I'm assuming it's just as seamless as the other side of the equation, right?
Essentially, the reunification is what you're talking about. So I'll tell you what happens.
Reunification. That said much better than what I just did.
No, it's all good. So what happens, like, for instance, a survivor may drop their pet off at, I'll say, I don't know, Jackie's pet boarding. I don't know. And then, so then the pet will stay at that Jackie's pet boarding for 7 days, right? A foster will come to Jackie's pet boarding to pick up that pet. That foster will take that pet back home for we will support the pet foster for housing that pet for 6 months. In that time, I think it's an adequate amount of time just to give the survivor adequate time to recover, heal, transition, whatever needs to happen. That's the longest amount of time. It happens much sooner than that. I just had someone at the exact 6-month mark this weekend. However, so then the foster will bring the pet back to that same pet boarding facility, and the survivor will come and pick up that pet from that pet boarding facility. The survivor and the foster never meet. The only person that I will meet is probably the pet boarding facility. That's if the staff person is there at the same time. We will pay for that pet boarding stay at the pet boarding facility. I'll just call and make payment over the phone. And in some instances, because I'm working in partnership with pet boarding facility, they will give it to us at a discounted rate or for free, depending on that pet boarding facility situation. Because I'll talk to the owner, because I am an advocate of small business. And even though it doesn't always happen, however, I'm an advocate of small business. And so I'll just talk to the owner and say, this is the situation. Are you able to work in partnership with us or provide us a discount? But if you're not, it's fine. But I want to always give a business opportunity to give back to the community in which they live. But if they choose not to do for their own reason or because they can't afford it, I recognize you're running a business as well. So, but I definitely want to give somebody the opportunity to support us as well in that way.
I love how organized it is, and how, like you said, you're giving other organizations an opportunity to give back to their own communities in ways that maybe they wouldn't have thought of before. So that's really awesome. You are literally a holistic business, in that you're helping the pet, you're helping the survivor, you're helping the communities, you're helping these other businesses. Wow, you are a complete rock star. So thank you for doing all that work. I mean, you're helping so many people.
I say I'm the face of Praline's Backyard, but I represent a lot of volunteers. Let me say that. And I'm, like I mentioned about Dubert.com, in the sense that they provide us a network of pet fosters. I met Chris in the beginning of my journey. He reached out to me, and I'm just so thankful for that partnership. So definitely know that it's a lot of volunteers on the backbone, because I'm not fostering a whole bunch of people's pets, right? I'm just putting people that already love pets together with pets that need housing. And so it's like, I'm just helping people live out the life that they want to live and giving back to their own communities. And I want to invite other people who may not know about, because I always mention that it's people really don't know. Because every time I tell the story, like, because I've had this experience of volunteering and having had a lived experience, it's like, I know this problem exists. But most people don't even think about, people think about their children, people think about the housing situation, but then they don't think about their pets that live in a home. Like 1 in 2 homes has a pet, right? And so in 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men experience domestic violence. So imagine, that's like pretty much, like even someone that's listening here today, on average, if we have more than 5 people listening, one of those persons are impacted by domestic violence, either having a lived experience or a current experience or a previously lived experience with it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just what it is. But people may not think about the other 4 people or 3 people in the statistics may not be aware of the implications for pets because they may not have a pet. I was like, but when I make the association, people like, oh, I tell people when I go on vacation, I'm concerned about Praline, and she's living in the best situations, right? Because I'm concerned, like, no one's treating her the way I treat her. So imagine having to leave your pet with somebody who you know has already mistreated you. And so they're going to be mad when you leave, how that person is going to be vindictive towards your pet. So you're thinking about that. You can't even fully heal or recover or really, just really, I won't say, I cuss the word, just really get beyond your place, where you are mentally, because you're concerned about your pet. And that's what I saw when I volunteered at domestic violence shelter, because the survivors, they wanted to be in recovery, but they really couldn't even start the process of healing because they're so concerned about their pet. And so they would just go back to be with their pet. And because the man is like, and I can't, it's just the situation people are in, but I want to make sure that no survivor, there may be a lot of reasons why you stay with an abuser. However, do not let it be because you're concerned about housing for your pet. Praline's Backyard Foundation, because of the support we have received from the community in terms of donations, in terms of pet fosters, in terms of pet boarding facilities, we can support you by providing housing for your pet.
That's beautiful.
It really is.
I know you probably have to protect the privacy of the people that you help, but are there any success stories you can kind of share with us?
Oh, definitely. I just mentioned, I just finished one. I just kind of closed up a case this weekend. I do a debrief this week with the pet foster. This foster had these pets for 6 months, up to the mark, would have been 6 months, the 1st of November. That I had been talking to the survivor. And what happens, I should have mentioned, while the pets are with the foster is giving me continual updates on the pet that I send to the survivor. And
nice.
that report card is really important to the survivor as they continue to recover, continue to adjust and find housing, because I have not been in, haven't looked for housing in a while in terms of rental housing, anything like that. Finding appropriate housing for pets is difficult in some areas financially, because housing is expensive depending on where you live. So that working with the survivor in terms of supporting them, identifying resources to help them, along with the domestic violence shelter and other resources, right? This particular person had 2 cats, and they also had children, but the foster had them for the entire 6 months. And thankfully, this particular foster actually worked at a cat sanctuary. So they were all up into cats. And so they were just like the perfect person for the survivors' cats. But really, I really want to speak to the importance of volunteering in any organization. So this pet foster was just really in love with these cats. She had a passion for cats already, and she had a passion for helping survivors, because even when she took the cats back this weekend, she left a nice little gift basket for the survivor. She gave them a gift card, just like little things for her cats. And so it's like these kind of relationships are really important in knowing that this is a person behind the help that you have done. And then for the survivor, it's like, she's so thoughtful. Like, even when I sent her the updates about her cats from the foster, she was just so touched and really helped in her recovery, knowing that her cats were taken care of while she was doing this for herself. Like, again, like, I really cannot speak enough to the pet foster who made the commitment to house survivors' pets. And then, like, this foster obviously did not have to make this gift basket for the survivor. She wrote a letter too, and that would have been just adequate, just to say, I want the best for you. Thank you for allowing me to share your cats with me for this time. The best as you continue on. But this foster went above and beyond, and the survivor really appreciated that. Like, she was just so touched. Like, she called me and she was just crying. I knew what the foster had left, but the survivor did. I kind of let it be a surprise. And so it's just like, that really touched her. So I think stories like that are really make me just like, this is why it needs to happen, because I want more people to have the joy of helping somebody else. Because I tell people all the time, I didn't wake up this morning just for my pure benefit to be pretty, right? Even though I am. However,
yes, you are.
I'm on this earth. Purple. I'm on this earth to give back to somebody else. I didn't wake up this morning for just like I said, be pretty. I meant to help somebody else. And so every day if I help somebody, I help this particular people, the foster and the survivor and her family. It's like that felt pretty good. Helping someone else feels pretty awesome. So I invite everybody to do something to help somebody else today for no other reason than to help somebody else. I don't need anything in return, but the fact that I helped you, that's awesome. And I had the power to do it. It didn't really like, okay, that's the best feeling ever. That's something, a feeling money cannot buy.
Right.
You know,
and you're putting people together. You're the connector, right? You know that there's always those people who are, connecting someone to someone else for whatever reason. You're doing that. You're the connector in this equation. You're putting people together to do these great things for survivors. And not only the survivors are getting this peace of mind and joy knowing that their fur babies are being taken care of, or they're not fur babies. I mean, I'm sure people have, iguanas or whatever. But anyway, so people are taking care of their babies. And then the fosters are like, man, I'm doing a good thing. I'm helping somebody else. This is really cool. And the pets are like, I'm not with my mom or my daddy, but this person's being nice to me, so I'm good.
Yeah. I'm in a safe place. Yeah. Because I told you, even pets recognize violence. They recognize uneasiness. Like, even when I'm upset, my dog recognizes it. They recognize behavior. And so they even see us. Like, when I have survivors reach out to me and say they're so thankful that I exist because 10 years ago, 5 years ago, nothing existed for them. So they left their pet with their abuser. And sometimes they had a horrible ending. Sometimes they just don't know what happened. And so that they're just so thankful. So pets know that they want the best for us. Sometimes that best means leaving a pet behind. That's what it has meant in the past. It should not be what happens today. However, at the same time, pets, they've experienced trauma too. They experience somebody hitting the wall or hitting their primary parent. They know that. They know that she's crying or he's crying and having a traumatic experience. They recognize that. And so when they're separated, they're mentally adjusting, but like you said, they recognize they're in a safe place being taken care of, and they're just hoping. And then even when they're reunited with their survivor, it's like, oh, how good, we're back together and you're happy and we're safe. And it's like, they're good. And so, yeah.
They definitely do pick up on human emotions. I realized that I had anxiety experiencing my dog's anxiety. I was trying to work with her, train her, and then I realized, oh, she's just exhibiting what I have. It was really interesting. How do you ensure, when you're working with all these families, how do you ensure the safety of the pets?
Well, I always talk to the foster. They provide references in their application. It's like a normal foster situation. And so I'm always in contact. A lot of it has built on trust. I'll say that. I don't think that anyone goes into this trying to hurt someone's pet.
No, probably not.
Yeah, but really it's trust. It's just like any job that I hire. Like I do references, and I assume that people are truthful to the most part. So that's how that's what I'll say I do in that sense.
And what are your long-term goals for Praline's Foundation?
My long-term
Praline's Backyard Foundation.
Oh, yes. My long-term goal, my 5-year goal right now, probably less than 5 years. I'll say within the next 2.5 years, I want to build a mobile app for survivors to be able to go into the app, and for a pet boarding facility to go into the app, and for a pet foster to go into the app. For the survivor to be able to go into the app and request housing for their pet, to request housing for themselves. And then for a pet boarding facility to go into the same app and say, oh, a survivor in my neighborhood needs housing for their pet. Let me answer the call and do that for them, right? Or a pet foster go into the same app and say, oh, I'm available to foster. Here's a pet needs fostering in my neighborhood. Let me answer the call. And so it just allows me to kind of make it more a seamless process, because right now it's me and doobit.com and all that. So, but bringing it all into an app makes it more seamless for everyone to come into. And then also provides additional resources for the survivor to work with partnership with other services that are provided for domestic violence survivors. Because obviously I can do Google research and everything, but if I have it all within an app, it's able to make it seamless for the survivor and for the people that are trying to support a survivor.
So for those of us who want to help, like what will it take for you to be able to create an app? Like what do you need as an organization to make that happen?
To build an app, I need $50,000 and $10,000 a year maintenance for that app.
Wow.
So that's
holy cow. Okay.
Wow. I've already been quoted on that. So that's why I know how much it costs, about $50,000, give or take, because technology changes, but I know it's a $10,000 a year maintenance of the app, because the app needs to be updated and all the stuff that happens. But that's what I would need. When I tell people that comes with, because when there's nonprofits, people always say, I want a donation. I want more than a donation. Right. I want a commitment to educate somebody else. There are 10 million people every year in this country experience domestic violence. And I say that's the number that has been given as a documented number. Right. We recognize that I won't say twice as much, but a lot more people that never enter into our system that experience domestic violence. So they're not even a part of the 10 million. But if I can get an advocate for each survivor that we know is documented, that means 20 million people will know, right? And so 20 million people can advocate for survivors of domestic violence. and survivors with pets as well. Because if more people knew, more people would do something about it in terms of helping survivors in need. So everybody that's listening to this today, if you just do me a huge favor, go on to any platform, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, follow, like, and share our content. Do that. Just your sphere of influence shares people. If you currently house your pet at a pet boarding facility, ask your pet boarding facility, how are they giving back to their community? Are they able to house pets of domestic violence survivors? Could they call their local domestic violence shelter and say, could work in partnership with them? Even though I'm the face of Praline's Backyard, there's a domestic violence shelter in every city in this country, right? And so you can work in partnership with your local domestic violence shelter and let them know that we are willing to house pets of domestic violence survivors. You can do that. We're answering the need. And so also you can volunteer at your domestic violence shelter, or you can volunteer at Praline's Backyard Foundation. I need digital volunteers because I like to I like to reach out to pet boarding facilities to say, we're here, but I need more people to help me with that. So let's email and connecting, educating, but definitely follow, liking, and sharing. And you can always donate. I'm not holding back the money now. Feel free. The end of the year is coming up. Make your donations to Praline's Backyard Foundation, but definitely make your donation in following, liking, and sharing our content, because there is power in the algorithm. I say crazy stuff goes viral every day. How about something positive, helping somebody else go viral? Let's make it go viral.
Let's make it go viral.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Take care of people, take care of their pets, help everybody be safe, help their pets be safe. That's amazing. So are there any areas of the country where you don't have a foster or a boarding facility or something where you're like, okay, we need to have somebody in this area? Where's the most need, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I'll say that just to clarify, we have a pet boarding facility and a pet foster in every state because fosters, because I'm part of this whole bigger network that I mentioned about. Got it. Purpose. And then in terms of pet boarding facility, I say I have a pet boarding, even though the pet boarding facility may not give us free housing, because there's a pet boarding facility in every major city or even the small towns of this country. I can just call them up and say, can I pay for housing at your set? Or can I just get a discount or donate it, whatever, like that. Yeah. But I'll say the highest need, it will be in New York, California, and Texas, obviously because the population is higher, so the need would be higher. And I'll say California is my hardest because it always takes me the longest time to find fosters there because there's a whole overcrowding of pets within the local county system. Like even in Atlanta, the DeKalb County and Fulton County are two places that house pets are over full. They're run full. And so their overflow is pet fosters. And so we have the overflow of taking care of people that abandon their pets, or people that have given up their pets, is like the pet fosters are already taken up in that sense. So finding that. So we always need more pet fosters. I think people think that like unfortunately, there's a perception of who a pet foster is. The pet foster is anybody that has a home, a heart, and want to give back to the community, and they love pets. You can be a pet foster. You have the space. Yeah. That you want some extra love, adopt the pet, or just foster a pet. Just check it out. Don't even get a pet. Don't even foster a pet.
Get a pet. Just look it up.
Foster. You just never did. Yeah, just foster. And I mean, people say foster fail, but no, these fosters would definitely, the pet would definitely be returned. So yeah, you're just going to test out whether or not you want a pet. A survivor's pet is a good tester because you're not keeping it. So yeah,
that's a very good thought. Yeah, to see if you are, ready to have a pet full time, just foster, and you're doing a good thing.
Exactly.
I love it.
And I should have added, we support our fosters as well, because people think that if I foster a pet, I can't go on vacation, I can't go this, I can't go by. Yes, you can, because the foundation will pay for the pet to go to a pet boarding facility while you go on vacation. Like, don't feel like, I can't go anywhere because I'm fostering someone's pet. Like normally, if I have my own pet, and my pet Praline doesn't go to boarding, but if she should, people that do put their pet in pet boarding facilities. However, you don't have to pay for that. We'll pay for that because that's an expense that some fosters may not be able to cover. So like, go on vacation, go do what you want to do for the weekend. We'll cover you. You want to keep the survivor's pet for the most of the time, right? Great. Then take a weekend off. It's good. We all need a weekend. Weekend off from your kids. Weekend off from your pets. It's all good. Yeah. So don't let that be discouraging that I can't do anything when I get somebody's pet. So no, we'll support you with because we just want to give you balance and support.
I like that. You've thought of everything.
Well, things happen, so I have to think of it. It's like I also thought of the fact that when I had a foster take a first-time foster took a pet to the to vet because he hadn't eaten in a day. I'm like, he'll be okay. We all can go a day without eating without going to the doctor, because they're in shock. Like when pets have attitude, they're like, I'm not gonna eat anything, but you don't have to go to the vet. give it a few days. You eat.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so I had to put that line item in our contract. Like, no, don't send them to the vet. Just give it a day. Or call me first before you go to the vet. Because vets have bills. We
Yeah.
want to minimize those.
Yeah, I could see though that the pet would also be having an adjustment period. The cat's probably
Yeah.
hiding under the beds where you can't find them, and dogs
Mm-hmm.
refusing to eat or whatever. That seems like normal behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I mean, people have not fostered. I always try to educate people,
Mhm.
like, because people are new to fostering or whatever. So these are natural signs. Just as if you got a dog from or a cat from Humane Society, or just if you got anything new coming into your home, whether that's whatever, it's an adjustment. It's me adjusting to somebody in somebody else's home. Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like, I want to eat your food. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, very
Okay.
good point.
Do you have statistics about I thought I read something on one of your websites about how many people won't seek shelter if they have a pet because they don't think they have options. Do you have
I think
statistics on that?
it's either 47 or 57%. They
Yeah.
believe they don't know. Part of that is they don't know. Or 47% of people delay leaving through the lack of housing for their pet. Because also less than 20% of domestic violence shelters in the United States have make accommodations for pet. Accommodations means housing the pet on site, working in partnership with their local county humane society. There are different options in terms of what it looks like. But yeah, so that's
because I'm sure that makes it all the more complicated.
Yeah, because some shelters, and it's a wise thing, because sometimes abusers have used dogs in particular as tools of scaring a survivor. So some survivors are afraid of dogs for that reason.
Yeah.
And so you necessarily don't want to put a survivor that has a fear of a dog in a shelter with a survivor who also has a pet as a dog as a pet. And so it's a balance that the shelters have to wager, and so how to accommodate a survivor that has been traumatized by a pet, and one that has a pet as a means of support, emotional support for them. So it definitely is that balance. And so one thing that the foundation is an advocate of, first of all, I'm an advocate of a partnership with people that are already housing pets, such as pet boarding facilities. So I don't think more about them being there, but also give that survivor the opportunity to really recover without having to be concerned about their pet at the same time. Because we recognize pets are a responsibility. You have to feed them, you have to engage with them, and they require some attention. And so when you're trying to heal something so traumatic as abuse, you may not be in the space for caring for a pet at that time. So for your own healing and for that pet's healing, sometimes it may mean let the time for healing. Let my pet go to this pet boarding facility, this pet foster, and then I can do some time by myself. Just like just all of us, like we all go through phases of our life where I don't want to take care of anything. I just need a break, right?
Yeah.
Let me recover from this traumatic experience. Then I can get back into my normal life. And so that's the same thing with survivors. They need to have the option. Not every survivor needs that. I recognize that, but definitely have it as an option.
Yeah. This is a really, really deep and interesting conversation. A couple of weeks ago, I went to a domestic violence 5K, a walk and run, and there was a speaker at the beginning. There were probably only 30 people present. She told her story of domestic violence, and then she offered the space for everyone who had witnessed or been a part of domestic violence to please step forward. And I would say the majority of the women that were in attendance stepped forward. And I thought to myself, I have not been a victim of domestic violence. So then the 5K started, and we're going around the track, and there's all these signs that describe domestic violence. And I read one about verbal abuse, and I don't remember what exactly it said. And it suddenly hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been a victim of domestic violence. I'm a survivor. And what's coming back to me now in this moment is that very person early on in our relationship told me something about his previous relationship. And I remember when I wanted to break up with him, that being my fear was that he would go after my pets. It's almost like he placed that information in my head ahead of time so that it could be used later on. And now I'm seeing very clearly this connection of how that could, I mean, your cat, Raquel, that's your baby. Praline Pecan is your baby. Me is my baby. I couldn't leave my baby. There's no way. So I see how this can I see how traumatic this could be and how it could actually be a detriment to saving your own life if you didn't know what to do with your baby.
Yeah,
This is
it
just
is. Like, yeah, it definitely is. People have made that choice. They didn't have a choice to make because they did not know. So,
right.
yeah. Yeah.
Right. Your work is so important. Thank you so much for doing it.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for giving space to help us educate more people. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, and everybody who's listening, just share, like Orazie is saying, share this information on all of your platforms. Tell people, just in whether you know somebody is going through something like this or not, just say, hey, I heard this episode of a podcast where they talked about blah, 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 blah. Because that person may be going through it and then hear that and know, okay, that gives me some peace of mind so that when I'm ready to go, I have a place for my baby, for my animal, for my pet. Or they can share that. I mean, just like you said, Orazie, just getting the word out, letting people know, because I never would have even thought about that. It wouldn't have even popped into my head. I would have just been like, or what I would have thought was, I need to find a friend who would take my pet. And what if I couldn't find a friend who could take my pet? Plus, if you're leaving under cover of night, or if you're leaving at spur of the moment, like, oh shit, let me grab my shoes and get the fuck out. What are you gonna do? Like Jennifer said, you are doing really important work. So seriously, for all the people out there who are either going through domestic violence themselves, or know somebody who is, or maybe they don't even know, but the person's going through it, just thank you for doing this. I mean, this is so significant. It takes that burden off somebody so they can make the choice that they need to make to save themselves and know that their pets are going to be okay. You want to have the app in 2.5 years. Okay, so anybody donate. If you build apps, reach out to Orazie.
Yes.
If you know somebody who builds apps, reach out. Like anybody, just
work it out. Yes.
Work it out. Get in touch with Orazie. We'll put all the information and contacts in the show notes. So reach out. So, but beyond the mobile app, like what's your dream vision for Praline's Backyard Foundation?
My dream vision would be that, I guess, I don't want any survivor to stay with an abuser for lack of housing of their pet. I want them to be aware. I want to know that. So, like, you may say for a lot of reasons, I don't want to be because of housing for your pet. And now I don't know. I'll say like that. I'm only in the United States, but this is an international situation. Because I've had people reach out to me from Australia, people from England to reach out to me. So yeah, I even had a really good lady. I can't think of her name in the moment, but she has an agency in Canada. It's like this is like it's a known thing. If you work in the space, you know it's an issue, and so just raising awareness on the issue and continuing to raise awareness and to provide resources for survivors with their pets. Also, that's the thing. People are aware, but then it's like, what kind of resources we're going to provide for survivors now that you know, what are you going to do to help? So, yeah. So that's for just educate people. So, yeah.
You're going to go international. I can see it. I can see it. Praline's Backyard Foundation, international. Yep, it's going to happen.
I just want to just raise awareness. It's like I have a pastor. I used to have a pastor rather. He doesn't live here in Atlanta anymore. But he say many hands make light work, and we all did our part. It makes it light. The load is light. That's what I want to do. Like, yeah. So thank you all for being a part of my hands.
Oh,
thank you.
You're quite welcome. It's our pleasure. It's just I don't know. It just makes me feel so good to know that if something were to happen to either myself or Jennifer or anyone we know, our pets would be okay. Is there anything, Orazie, that we haven't talked about, that we haven't touched on, or a message that you want to get out to people?
My major thing has always been to educate 10 million people, to create 10 million advocates. Definitely, I mentioned the app, and definitely, like you mentioned, if you have your app developer, you want to donate your time and resources, feel free to contact us. And definitely like, share, and follow. Help us go viral. Help the message. Not even, I don't want Praline's Backyard Foundation as a name, definitely. However, and I may have to be the face of the foundation. However, I'm the face of 10 million survivors in this country, and 10 million more because we know there's more than that. So definitely just share, educate, raise awareness, educate yourself, and educate somebody else. So if we did that, we would just be better for it. The community would be better for it. So do that for me.
Thank you.
Do that for all of us.
Thank you so much, Orazie. Thank you for the work that you're doing, and give a little extra love to Praline for both of us.
So. She is like knocked out somewhere. I don't hear her anymore. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Raquel, that was touching. What are your final thoughts today?
We're getting to the holidays, and the holidays are always a very emotional time. There's going to be, I would guess, I mean, I don't know for sure, I don't have any stats on this, but I would guess that there's probably going to be an uptick in domestic violence. So everybody help us get this message out so that if anybody is experiencing that now or will during the heightened emotion of the holidays, that they will know that there's somewhere for them and for their pets. There's somewhere for their pets to be safe. Another thing I think about too is, yes, with the holidays coming, I think people are always thinking of, what can I do to give back? What can I do? I don't want to just spend money on presents, or I have a birthday coming up. I don't really need anything. Let me ask people to give to something that maybe feels like it will have more of an immediate impact, as opposed to like some ginormous organization. Praline's Backyard Foundation, I think, is one of those ways that people can give a donation in someone's name for, like, hey, this is one of your Hanukkah presents is that I'm going to make a donation to Praline's Backyard Foundation in your name. Or instead of everybody buying one more thing for each other for Christmas, let's gather our money and make a donation to Praline's Backyard Foundation. That sort of thing. So many people get, and sometimes ourselves, I know I get overwhelmed sometimes of, what can I do? I'm one person. There's so much going on in the world. What can I do? I'm just me. What can I do? This is something that you can do. Or if you're like, I'm not somebody who's going to go and do a 5K or give a speech, or maybe if somebody's like, I'm afraid to foster or whatever, that's fine. You don't have to. You can donate to Praline's Backyard Foundation. You can volunteer at a domestic violence shelter. You can volunteer at an animal shelter. There's so many ways that you can help so that people can have some peace of mind to know that they are going to be okay and that they have options. They don't have to stay in a situation that is detrimental or even deadly to them and or their pets. Just get the word out. Help us spread the word so that people know that there are options for them.
I'm kind of blown away by the staggering amount of people whose lives are touched by domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, I didn't consider myself one of those people till I went to an event. I went to an event, I heard a talk, I did a walk, I read some stuff, and I was like, oh, my situation didn't require going to a shelter, but a lot of people, it does. Mm-hmm. And I could truly see how one would be very torn on what to do if they had a pet involved. And I just think that if you're already facing something that's detrimental to your personal well-being, and then have to give up the animal who's bringing you the, when you walk in from work, the dog is the only one excited to see you. This is for your health and well-being and emotional support and love. Some people, myself included, sometimes the love from my dog is the love that I'm receiving for the day. What beautiful work to not have to make a choice around your own safety and your pet's safety. Beautiful, beautiful work. It's the nuance of the situation that a lot of us don't understand. And bringing awareness is tremendous. So I'm just very, very, very grateful that this work is being done and that people have, you said it, options. Options are available. I'm just happy to be able to learn about it and spread the word.
I'm happy to be a part of it. Everybody listening, tell 5 people. Tell the person, you go to the grocery store, the person's checking out, and you're making conversation. Tell them about it. You go get your coffee, you're talking to somebody in line while you're like waiting in line. Just tell them. Buy the t-shirt, wear it. Somebody asks you about it, tell them about it.
Share a post on Instagram.
Share a post on Instagram.
Hit your fans with a post on Instagram.
Absolutely. Go follow Praline's Backyard Foundation and share. You don't know who's going to see it, and you don't know who's going to need that message.
Thanks, Raquel.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thanks, everyone, for listening today. We will be back with more Madness Cafe next week. You can find us on Instagram at Madness Cafe Podcast or email us at madnesscafepodcast@gmail.com. Bye.